Josh Paunil, Philly Mag, Birds 24/7. And, of course, the Eagles get ready for the Panthers this week. And as he writes over at Birds 24/7, that this is a different Cam Newton than the one the Eagles saw last year, sacked him 9 times, dominated the game, Josh. That seems to be the theme of this week, that this is not the same Carolina team as the one that the Eagles really dominated last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that Chip mentioned was, they're not really looking at the film much last year because he was coming off that ankle surgery. He wasn't fully healthy, and the Panthers just used him differently because he couldn't really run. But this year he's had a lot of success running the ball. He leads the Panthers in rushing touchdowns. He leads all NFL quarterbacks in rushing attempts. So obviously he's a guy that you have to keep an eye on, and not just designed to run with the zone read or just quarterback draws, but when scrambling on third downs and kind of hurts you when he picks up the first down.
Yeah, and, this is an Eagles defense that really does a good job, Josh, against the run. And we know that Chip said it today. They really want to pound the ball. They run the ball, anything. So is this actually a good matchup for Philadelphia? Even though Cam Newton's playing at a much better level, is this a good matchup for the Eagles defense?
Yeah, it's definitely a good matchup for the Eagles defense. And even though the Panthers like to run the ball, they're not great at it. They're in the middle of the pack in yards per carry. And Cam Newton's passer rating, is in the bottom half of the league. So although they like to run the ball, they're not, and they're not great passing the ball either. So this really is a game where you can see the Eagles, as they have been the last few weeks, the defense carrying them and, really picking them up and potentially a surprise upset against an overachieving team, in my mind, in the Panthers.
Josh Paunil, Philly Mag, Birds 24/7, and some of the things that happened last week. Obviously, the Eagles won that game, dominating fashion, but the way Bradford played has been really the talk moving forward. Josh, Chip Kelly said a couple things, and he's been asked about Bradford in almost every different way. What are some of the things that have stood out about, is Chip defending Bradford, or is he telling the truth in terms of why he's struggling? Because a lot of people think, why is Chip Kelly defending this guy and covering up for him so much?
Well, I think part of it is Chip just doesn't want to put any of his guys really out to dry. Middle of the season, you don't want to just kind of cast off these guys and, lose your locker room. And there's really no advantage Chip has to say, Sam is playing terribly. He's ruining the season for us. He's not letting us reach our potential. He doesn't really have anything to gain from that. He's just playing the smart move. Sam did make some bad, but other guys made some mistakes. So it's really just Chip kind of being Chip with how he's dealing with the media.
Yeah, now, of the things that he says so far, is there things that you actually agree with him, or are you saying when he says some of these things about Sam, are you kind of your head afterwards and wondering if he is, in fact, just covering for him?
Well, there are some things that you definitely have to take as truth. The miscommunications and, receivers are just flat out not running the right route sometimes, and that's obviously not on Sam. But Sam is having a lot of struggles, as you saw, against the Giants. I think one good example is on his interception when Riley Cooper broke off his route. He did so a little bit late, but even if Riley Cooper keeps going, why would you throw the ball lofted up into double coverage deep down the field? Riley Cooper wasn't over top of the corner. The safety was helping over top. There's absolutely no reason to throw that ball, even if Riley Cooper keeps running. So did Riley Cooper make a small mistake in cutting off his route later than he should have? Yes. But does that absolve Bradford from the interception? Absolutely not.
Josh Paunil's with us, looking at the Eagles and the Panthers. Philadelphia's offense with Bradford. How tough of a matchup? Where can they exploit the Carolina side of the ball? Because this is a very good Panthers defense, and with your quarterback struggling, this would be a week that you would almost think that if he's going to struggle, this is going to be tough to score points.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to get the run game going against the Panthers. They're in the middle of the league in run defense, but what their strength really is pass defense. They're second in the NFL in quarterback passer rating allowed, and this is really a defense that you're going to have to beat them on the ground. And this is an area that the Eagles have shown improvement the last 3 weeks, and that's one thing that I thought the offensive line was underrated in the game against the Giants. Sam Bradford, his struggles were understandably the headline on the offensive side of the ball. But the Eagles averaged 4.2 yards per carry against the Giants, who at the time were tied for the lead in the NFL in yards per carry allowed. So this is an offensive line that's absolutely improving. You saw DeMarco Murray with a nice stiff arm on his touchdown run. Ryan Matthews is obviously having a good year. So this is a game where you're going to have to see that continued improvement because the Eagles, they're not just going to be able to rely on their defense. They're going to have to be able to run the ball because those big plays over the top probably won't be there for Sam Bradford.
Of the injured Eagles out there, Michael Kendricks, it looks like, a lot of people wondering what his role is going to be when he comes back. Has he been able to practice? I know Chip said we'll see how he does today. Was he able to make it through today's practice?
Yeah, he was, and that was the big point that Chip was making was, he practiced yesterday, but it's not just about one practice. It's about can he string multiple practices together, and how will he look? Obviously we don't know how he looked today, but Chip said he looked good yesterday. He made it through today, so the assumption is that he continued to make progress and he was able to string a couple of good practices together. But if he can play, if the doctors clear him, then he'll absolutely be back in his starting role. That's one thing that Bill Davis, the defensive coordinator, has made clear, as well as the backups are playing, as well as Jordan Hicks has played, and D'Amico Ryan has had some of his ups. Michael Kendricks will still be the starter once he returns.
All right, Josh, last one for you, and the Bradford stuff is all over the place, but let me ask you, do you think that with the bye week coming off, if Bradford struggles, that Kelly would contemplate a switch at the bye?
Well, he would have to. He would have to really struggle, probably even worse than he did against the Giants. I really think it would take a lot for Chip to bench Bradford, just because if you look at these two guys, Bradford clearly has more potential. You could certainly make the argument, well, potential is great, but we need to start seeing production soon. But Mark Sanchez isn't a guy where, okay, we'll take Bradford out, and then Sanchez will go in there and protect the football. He has interception problems too, so I think it would really take a Bradford's worst game of the season for Chip to even consider benching his quarterback.
All right, Josh Paunil, guys over at Philly Mag, Birds 24/7 for more on the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers this week. And, of course, every Thursday right here with our last look at the Birds as they get ready for the Panthers Sunday night right here on 97.3. All right, Josh, appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.